Kia ora koutou, nau mai, haere mai. My name is Juliana Carvalho. My sign name is DJ Rolling. I am the implementation partner engagement for the disability-led climate adaptation pilot. And sadly, Cici Rock is unwell. She was supposed to be facilitating today, so I'm just, imagine I'm Cici. I really want to acknowledge Mana Whenua and the space we are in. I want to welcome all the amazing participants for this pilot. The Grant Advisory Panel, who is sitting right here. Auckland Council staff, who make the efforts to be here today. The partners, the team providing accessibility. We have Catherine doing the live captions, the New Zealand Sign Language interpreters, audio describer, Kelly here doing the live illustration, and also those attending online. Today is a really, really special milestone of this pilot. Just some health and safety. So bathrooms are to the left. The exit in case of emergency are through the left, and then right, that door. Please, can everybody put the mobile on silent? I've done that with my one, yeah. And shall we try to speak at a pace that is possible for the New Zealand Sign Language interpreters to keep up with interpreting? And when is the first time that you are speaking, say your name and your organization. And then after that, when you're speaking, just say your name so everybody knows who is talking. We have amazing photographer, Becky Moss, capturing our time together. Please do let her know if you don't want to be photographed. I will now invite Les to open us up with a karakia.
Kia ora. Kia ora, everyone. I'm just going to do a karakia timatanga. Ngā mihi o te rā, ki te whānau e huihui nei, kia tau te rangimārie, kia whakapono tātou, me ngā mea, e whakapono ana tātou, haumie, huie, tāe ki e. Kia ora.
Kia ora, kapai. So this pilot is about disabled-led climate adaptation, solutions designed by and for our communities. And we had quite a journey. Together, we learned from each other. And today is not just about participants speaking, it's about a collective learning and celebrating that ideas that are coming through. Participants will have 10 minutes to present their proposals to the Grant Advisory Panel. And after that, the Grant Advisory Panel can make a few questions or comments, remarks. And we will begin with 3 groups. I would like to invite first. We have a slight change in plans. So we will start with people first, but they are doing later. So I will invite Lara and Kim to present accessible coastal futures. Thank you.
So Lara is pushing her son in his pushchair up to the front alongside Kim, and they're making their way over to the microphone.
I can do the talk on the mic so they can capture.
So the other bit of detail to add is that Philip Paxton has joined on screen. So he's got a little screen that's sitting at the gap table.
Kim, if you just move closer to the microphone as well.
And Lara's made her way to the podium, just trying to sort out the microphone.
Kia ora, good morning. Thank you very much. It's wonderful to see so many faces today in real life. So we've got a few slides, and if we can share those, and we will speak to those as well as we move through our presentation. So I don't know whether it was possible to have those, but we don't need them. No? We've got Tech looking at it in the back. Thank you.
Zoe.
It's great being
So
first,
we
isn't it?
start with technical difficulties. Just it's not a Monday, but it does feel like it. Just for context, we booked the other room. It was double booked, so the people from the Tai Chi said, "No, we fight for it. We're not giving the room." We try to, we try to terrorize them, and say, "Wah!" But not. So here we are in technical
this room.
difficulties. Maybe you start talking about the idea while they try to sort it out the slides.
Ka pai. So kia ora, ko Lara or Larissa Clark, tōku ingoa. Beside me and behind me, who is shy and hiding, is my son McCallum, and he is really the reason that I'm here today. So our bid is called Accessible Coastal Futures, and I have a background in urban planning, and I have worked recently in the area of climate change adaptation. So I guess the challenge as we see it and understand it is that we know with climate change our coastal spaces are going to continue to change. We've got erosion, we've got flooding, and we know that we have a lot of challenges with connecting to the coast and making sure that everyone can experience coastal environments and experience touching the water, being in the water, and all of the things McCallum would tell you he enjoys, like fishing or going swimming. And so we want to think about how we can ensure that the disability community can be part of the conversations and be advocating for the access that's inclusive for everyone within our coastal spaces. I'd like to hand over to Kimberly to introduce herself as well before we start to talk about what our possible solution is and how we would hope to share the impact for that.
Thanks, Lara. So I'm Kimberly. So I have lived experience of a 21-year-old.
Speak on the mic, please.
I have lived experience with a 21-year-old. So I brought him up, and I do a lot of blogging and writing and reviewing of accessibility and inclusion in our communities. And I run a blog called Grab Your Wheels, Let's Travel, and just enjoy writing stories and do a lot of storytelling with the community. So I've built quite a active platform and made a lot of connections through the community over 15 to 18 years, actually, from my experience with Finlay. That's my son. And yes, so I do a lot of the travel. I do a lot on accessible beaches, for example. I'm we live right on the North Shore, right next to all the beaches, and we need to be able to access them as a family. And I've experienced quite a bit of exclusion when it comes to bringing up a family with someone in a wheelchair. And often you have one side that has to stay close to the parent, and the rest of the family, they go off and enjoy themselves, and you're sort of waiting pretty much on the sidelines. So what we want with beaches, in particular, what we're finding now a lot of the time is that there's a lot of erosion, a lot of changes. So I've been trying to create the accessible beaches, but there's a lot of problems and challenges out there for it. So that's what I do anyway. So I do a lot of advocacy in this space.
Thank you, Kimberly. So what we're proposing is that we both grow the understanding about climate change, how the climate and how our coastal areas might change with a wider part of our disabled community. And drawing on Kimberly's lived experience and very successful exploration of many parts of the Auckland region, we want to take at least 3 study tours, primarily focused on mobility challenges, but would be really keen to collaborate with other parts of the disabled community to make those tours accessible to all, so that we can both learn about how coastal areas areas might change, experience the different access innovations that are available at the moment, such as beach mats and beach wheels, working with partnerships that Kimberley has in that area, and actually have a lived experience and understand what looks good to people, what does good look like, what do you value the most, so that it's not just my perception or Kimberley's perception, it's a wider community perception about what it is that we want for the future. What we then intend to do with what we have learned is to share that as widely as we can. We would like to invite our elected representatives, our decision makers, our policy makers, and our asset owners and managers to come along on these study tours and to see the challenges that people face firsthand and to hear what some of the innovations might be. We then want to sort of synthesize and capture all of what we have learned, and we want to share it as broadly as we can. We want to share it with council, who are decision makers and who hold budgets that might enable future infrastructure to be built, but we also want to share it with the design industry, so my colleagues, urban planners, architects, engineers, because we have an opportunity to innovate. New Zealand and Auckland has over, hundreds of kilometres of coast. In Auckland, we have 3,200 kilometres of coast. We have 3 harbours. We have so much of an opportunity to better share this environment and to be potentially world leading in what we do. Kimberley, is there anything that I have missed in not having my prompts?
You've done extremely well. I was just thinking that I've done quite a lot of similar work to this, and it's been really successful. I reviewed 50 kilometres of cycleways with adaptive cyclists, so I brought together the community that were riding lots of different bikes, and we've got those embedded in for council as well as guidelines. And I also worked on a Recreation Aotearoa project with, again, trail guidelines. So I've got quite a lot of experience in this area of bringing the community together, and let's really get this. So and I know a lot of the lived experience, so yeah.
And we should probably then finally tell you what we are asking for. So we have looked at what we want to achieve as probably a lot. We've broken it down into sort of 3 modules, and what we're seeking today is funding to support the study tours and to support the synthesization, I don't know if that's a word, and the sharing of that, thanks Paul, and the sharing of that with our decision makers, our designers and the broader disabled community. And then we are keen to continue working in this space to think about how we can publicise and share what we have learnt more broadly, and how we can actually realise actual physical built infrastructure to potentially provide us one of the most accessible areas in Auckland. That's the very long-term goal. So today we're asking for $44,000 to support the various stages of our module, but we would be very happy to see any support, because I think this is a kaupapa that Kimberley and I will continue to look at regardless. So thank you very much for your time.
Wow, I'm super excited about this project, but I have my own interests around it. I want to go to the beach. So the Grant Advisory Panel, do you have any questions, comments, remarks to Kim and Lara? No, it won't be physically possible to have everybody in the same, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we do five minutes now if you have any.
Okay, well, Paul Brown here from the Grant Advisory Panel with a wee bit of feedback, which I'm sure will be sorted. Look, just want to thank Kimberley and Lara and McCallum for the presentation, and apologies for the technical difficulties. It's great to hear our allies putting themselves at the kind of with the community, as part of the community, and bringing strengths of urban planning and Kimberley's blogs and so on to advocate for this kind of change to coastal areas, given that there's huge changes anyway. And of course, what we don't want to see is any new barriers being created around those changes. So a project that combines, I love the idea, by the way, of disabled people, us deciding what's good, rather than somebody ticking boxes or designing some kind of audit and telling us that's what's good. Just a wee synthesis of what you said, that's what I heard and what I was most excited about. So I don't know if there's questions or comments first from Tamara or Monica.
Tamara from the Grant Advisory Panel. I just wanted to ask a question. First of all, your passion is incredible, and I really all that. But also, I just wanted to see if you have anything else to say about the sustainability in your builds and like the way you're looking into that, and in regards to the environmental aspects and impacts.
Thank you. That's a really good question, and something, having worked in the coastal space for the last 3 years, that's very close to my thinking as well. Whenever we're thinking about accessibility at the coast, and we're thinking about hard edges at the coast, there definitely are environmental implications about coastal squeeze and how we provide for our ecosystems. I guess having the insight that I have from working with Auckland Council in this space, I know that we can't protect and we can't modify all of our coastal areas. And so I think it is really needing to make sure that disabled voices are part of the priority when we are hardening our coastal edges in some places. We make really clear choices about where we do that, and we're really deliberate with our funding, our investment, and hopefully innovative with our design around how we can achieve greater and better access and how we can make those environments adaptable, but also be thinking about the environmental impacts and potentially different materials rather than always reverting to concrete.
Monica.
Wow, that's amazing. But I did have a question. Yes, I read your report. That's really, really great. Strong commitment to working together. But how is it going to work as far as recruitment goes? How are you going to advertise? How are you going to get it to the wider community? Please explain.
Well, I have got quite a... Well, I have got quite a connection to the community, and I've been working in lots of different areas as well. So I've actually now, it's not just physical disability, I'm really looking at all, starting to get to know a lot of the population and a lot of people with disability. So hearing, deaf, blind, low vision, I have quite a few connections there. I run a travel forum. Currently there's about 4,000 members in it, and they're all New Zealanders with disability that want to travel. So I can tap into that. I've got my blog, of course, which has been running now for nearly 10 years. And I've got quite a lot of social media. I also have another social media where I have a lot of connections with disability called Including Finlay. That's my son, so it's all about inclusive environments, urban areas, and I don't think there's any problem whatsoever reaching out and getting who I need. I do also know a lot of people from all the disability organisations, DPOs, and around, so I think you're fine there.
Great, thank you very, very much.
I just got one more quick question. Oh, sorry. I got one more quick question from Tamara. And it's just, I heard that you had connections with policymakers and things like that. Are you able to elaborate a little bit more on that? Thank you.
Thank you. So I have a background in the research sector as well. I also worked previously at GNS Science, so one of the earth science Crown Research Institutes, and had the privilege of working with a social science team there. That's also enabled me to make connections with the University of Auckland, and I have a lot of connections, I guess, more in the climate change and natural hazard risk space, which I would really like to leverage and understand more and make more connections in relation to universal design and accessibility. I've also had the privilege of working with the wonderful public policy team at Auckland Council, many of whom are here today. So it would be continuing to use those networks, and it's also around the asset owners, the engineers and the architects. So making those connections with actually engineering practice and planning practice, because it's not just the policies, it's the ability of our industry to actually deliver on those innovative solutions. So those would be the pathways I'd be exploring.
I think time is up. Thank you so much, Kim and Lara. All the best. Now, you're I would like to invite now Kylie from CCS Disability Action to present on the project Can You Dig It?
Kia ora koutou. Ko Kylie Asbury Dawson toku ingoa. I'm the Disability Leadership Advisor for CCS Disability Action, and this is...
I'm Brendan Murphy. I'm the Community Gardens Coordinator at Dig It Gardens in Royal Oak, down the road.
Beautiful. So at CCS Disability Action, we are privileged to be home to the Dig It Royal Oak Community Garden, which has been a part of our infrastructure for the last 40 years. And so our bid today is the Can You Dig It Garden Climate Workshop Series. So what we would like to propose is utilising our Eden, our beautiful space that is hidden away in central Auckland, to bring our community together. So Brendan and I are from the disability community. We both identify as disabled and have been a part of this community for a very long time. And so what we're wanting to achieve is bringing our community together to not only survive but thrive. You know, we're currently living in a world where survival of the fittest, right? And it seems like we're at the bottom of that totem pole. And so our proposal is a series of workshops where disabled people are identifying what it is about gardening that they're wanting to achieve. Creating a space where we're exploring some of the misconceptions of gardening. I'm one of the first people to say, I'm not a gardener. It is not my jam. And when I say that, it usually comes from a place of, it's going to take up too much energy, it's going to take too much time, it's going to be painful, it's going to impact my impairments, and that's simply not true. And I've learned that over working with Brendan in the garden and his passion. He taught me how to create a thriving kumara bed from one kumara that was going bad in my cupboard, right? And it's amazing and it's delicious. And so we're wanting to bring forward that passion for the wider community. And we're very aware that not everyone can get to Royal Oak. We realise that, there are physical constraints around being in that centre space. And so part of our our proposal is exploring the different connections with other community gardens. We're one of 90 in Auckland, and we haven't experienced those other 89, you know. Who is our garden community? Who in our disability community is accessing those spaces? Are they accessible? And if not, can we share our mātauranga? Can we gain some of their gardening knowledge and share some of our accessibility and inclusion knowledge in that process? Yeah. But I'm going to hand over to Brendan now to share a little bit about the garden and why he's so passionate about being in that space.
Good morning, everybody. Brendan Murphy. Years ago, I used to volunteer at the SPCA, and I'd catch the bus in there, and there was one guy every morning. He had an intellectual disability, and every morning we'd go to the dairy and get 2 big packets of chips, the potato chips, and a big bottle of Sprite, and he'd drink it before he got on the bus. And I used to see his behaviour change so much that before we even got onto the motorway, he'd get kicked off the bus every day. And a lot of people who are lower income, and it does happen a lot with people with disabilities, and we're in a larger percentage of people who aren't working and also are sort of overlooked for work and things like that. So that also leads to bad food choices because that's all you can afford. And I just have seen so many people come into work, and the taste of that fresh vegetables off the vine or off the thing, I've even shown them eating beans as well as still attached. That's the freshest you can eat your veggies. And there's so many opportunities out there, and people just aren't either aware or able, or about how able they are to do their own food production. So I've seen people come into work who have been really shy and haven't really talked much, and then sort of opened right up and learned so much more and made good connections through the community and gardening community. We also have people coming into work wanting to know more about making their community gardens more accessible. When I first started there 13 years ago, I went through a few bosses, and one of my bosses was her family was a fundraiser, and part of our garden wasn't accessible. So in my previous job, I was a designer. So we went and did a plan, and we talked to a lady called Vivian at work who works with the council on accessibility, and we were able to make a really accessible garden, but also different versions of accessibility. It's not always about wheelchairs. It's not always about it's not always about just concrete paths. There's so many other things like what you use to drag things around the garden. We've got different trolleys and things we can use. We've got tools we can modify. We can take the ends off and change them over. Tools for people who have lower grip strength and things like that. And there was a guy years ago when I was working there. He used to actually climb out of his chair into the garden because he found that was the best way you could garden. And just getting that into the soil and having that passion, people, that you can actually grow your own and you can be healthier and it doesn't cost as much. And there's all these opportunities out there for people who perhaps haven't explored that yet and would be able to. And we'd also, once we've done this, we'd like to actually make it available to all the community gardens in Auckland and invite them along to the hui so they can see the work we're doing and actually explore accessibility in their community gardens as well. So yeah, with the recent closure of the sanctuary in places where you won't have so much access to community gardens, we think having gardens more accessible means the ones that are there are able to be used by more people. So we're hoping to get that into the community as well. So yeah, thank you.
We ultimately, so the question that springs to mind when we were writing this proposal is, how will you know that you're successful? And that's such a loaded question. It's such a hard question, but for me, it's our community will thrive, what we're wanting to achieve. This isn't just about gardening and just being in Te Tai Ao, in the environment. It's actually supporting our community to grow our own food. our garden has been in existence for a very long time, and it's seen different phases, right? And a lot of our staff, because it's in our backyard, go out into that space a lot. And recently, you know, we've had comments from staff going, oh, it's not as pretty as it used to be. Because kind of pre-COVID, it was full of flowers, it was very colourful, and that's lovely, that's beautiful, but you can't really eat flowers beyond, you know, the odd garnish on your plate, you know. If you actually go out into that garden, it's amazing, you know, there's pumpkins hidden under the soil. I think I found an artichoke heart or an artichoke flower hiding in there the other day. We've got random things. Buddha's hands, which I had never heard of before. They're a beautiful citrus fruit. Bean plants, chilies. In the summer, we've got tomatoes. You know, it's people say it's not thriving because it's not colourful. It's thriving because it's full of food. And at the end of the day, that's what we're wanting for our community, good, nutritious food. And part of that is, you know, if our community is wanting to explore how to grow their own food, what next? Do you know what to do with it? Do you know how to cook it? You know, utilising our connections to create a space of, yeah, let's do like a bit of a masterclass. Let's explore, you know, we've had some kind of joking conversations, but actually, you know, if you like a little bit of a tipple, let's, you know, explore making some Feijoa wine or limoncello or something, you know? See, some of them get excited by that, you know, and so it's about nutrition, it's about our community thriving, but it's also having fun and being together and connecting in different ways as well.
I'd just like to add one more thing myself. I'm a member of the Te Reo Glendine Community Patrol, and in the last floods we went out and we were taking packages of food out to people in the community. If someone had a small garden, they don't have to rely so much on food if there was another disaster and things like that. You can sort of be a bit more self-sufficient if the worst happens to you. You don't have to wait for people to come and bring you food or bring supplies and things like that. So that's another benefit of having that garden as well. I mean, we worked with a group a few years ago, and I'm actually on the board of Toiora in town, which is an arts group, arts trust, and we had some people come into my work who they were part of a mental health group, and the whole time I was thinking, come on, they're just not getting it, And the last day I thought, well, what can we do? So they'd been learning about how to grow veggies, so we went around the whole garden, we just picked out food and we just made a soup up. We all shared it, and just I could see it finally clicking, and people grow their own food, they actually taste it and they eat it. That's when you'll actually get people coming in and actually starting to think, oh, that's for me, you know. So, yeah. Cool.
Ngā mihi nui kia koutou.
Really exciting. So, does the Grant Art Advisory Panel has any questions, comments, or remarks? Monica?
Wow, thank you so much. I absolutely love the idea of providing food for our community. What about winter time though? What can you do? I understand that the garden grows amazingly in summer, but winter, what do we do then?
That's a great question, Monica. There's an abundance of winter foods that are just ready and waiting. So our pumpkins, you know, our soup-based foods get us ready for our winter. And I have learned, because of our community garden, that a pumpkin about 20 centimetres in diameter will give you a full crock pot of soup plus roast pumpkin that feeds a family of 4.
We've actually got, at the moment, we just harvested our pumpkins a while ago. We harvested 24, and we've got 24 pumpkins stored in the shed. We can just use it through the year for lunches and giving out to volunteers and things like that. We've got, you can do cabbage, silver beet, all sorts of things. Kale, we just planted some kale, silver beet, broad beans and things, which is good for cover crop for making the soil stronger as well. So yeah, lots of stuff you can do.
part of this as well is we're wanting to explore resilience gardening, so that our crops aren't completely annihilated during our storms and extreme weather. You know, are there certain ways to be planting? Can we hide things a certain way so that they're more protected during those extreme climate events as well?
A few years ago, when they had the floods a few years ago, we've got a lot of raised beds, and a lot of the community gardens around Auckland were saying, oh, kumara's all rotting and all that sort of thing. We had like the best crop of kumara, and it was like really cool to show everybody that's how not only is accessible garden good for people, but it also can help grow plants in a better way as well.
Oh.
Yep. In your proposal, you talked a wee bit about supporting people in accessible kind of gardening at home, you know, kind of kits or whatever you might call it. Do you want to talk a wee bit about that? Because, you know, people coming into the garden's great, but if folk are going to make this sustainable, then they've got to do it where they are, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so part of our proposal is exploring the resources that people need to replicate this and emulate this at home. And so is it seedling kits? Do we need to explore adaptable tools for people? I've been playing around with an idea of, do we just give everyone a bunch of tools, which would be lovely, but we don't have $1 million. Do we explore like a tool library where people can rent things? And so it makes it a little bit more reasonable for the community as well. Yeah.
And we've also been tailor-making things for 40 years for people to use. We've had, years ago I was told about a guy who used to drive the ride-on mower with his crutches. It's like, wouldn't be acceptable these days, but we've sort of, that's the sort of things we've done in the past.
I'd like to go at driving the lawnmower.
Sure. Maybe not within our space because of safety, but I might talk to Nicola.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kia ora. I was just wondering about when you said you have connections to the other gardens. Are any of those within the Māori space, and do you have anything to elaborate on in Māori mātauranga knowledge and things?
Beautiful questions, Tamara, thank you. So we had the privilege of, through this space actually, connecting with our new friends from Te Hononga a Iwi, the Rosedale Restoration Project, and through kōrero with them, they were sharing some of their mātauranga, some of their knowledge, and they're like, oh, so have you connected with this person? They've just created the marakai for Ngāti Whātua, and so we're like, we haven't connected yet, but we're really willing to. And as part of that, so at CCS Disability Action, we're very privileged to have our Karanga Maha connection. So Karanga Maha is a space for Māori and non-Māori to come together to share many voices of what's important and what's important for our community. And so we're really, really keen to ensure that that voice is throughout. We have had experience in the past of working alongside people from Hokianga in Rongoa Māori. And, you know, we talk about food as a basic necessity, right? But when you do food well, it sustains us and it nurtures us, and we can use food for healing as well. And just as a tiny little snippet of that, I am so proud of our kawakawa hedge. It's just beautiful and just in abundance. So, you know, using, can we make buns? Can we teach people how to make buns? Can people teach us, you know? Yeah.
And if anybody does regularly lose kawakawa, come down to the garden anytime. We've got always harvesting it. So, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, one quick question. You didn't mention just in the interest of transparency, like the last project, you haven't mentioned your budget.
Oh, aroha mai. That wasn't intentional. You're funny. So for this project, which we plan on doing over 18 months to 2 years, we have asked for the full 50,000. And the reason that we've done that is accessibility, predominantly travel for people to be able to come to the workshops, NZSL audio description, and we were a little unsure on our resource budget, so we tapped that off to the full 50, because, you know, tools, when you look at them, a standard tool set for gardening can be $20 from Bunnings. As soon as you talk about accessibility or adaptiveness, you know, it increases threefold. So just ensuring we've got what we need.
CCS are putting in some support in kind.
We've put in some support in kind. So our coordination, we have a fabulous national communications team, and so part of this, while we have our a set idea of workshop timeframes, I'm hoping that there's continued connection throughout that as well via social media. You know, I want to see our community sharing videos of what they're growing, or someone coming back to us going, oh, these beans look a little dodgy, how can we pick them up, you know? And so that constant communication and connection.
We're also regularly running workshops in our garden as well, which are accessible to everybody, so you can always come along for a refresher or learn more stuff as well. So, yeah.
Kia ora.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Can I ask a quick question?
Oh, yeah, Pip. Absolutely.
To collaborate presentation of your ideas and your innovation. I'm just thinking in the event of a disaster, if you thought about how the kai that you're growing will be first among disabled people.
It's a great question. Our connection to the community is as big as it is at the moment, right? And not a lot of people know that we're hidden away at the moment. And so we used to have connections where we would sell our kai, not necessarily within our community, but to local cafes and stuff. And I think I really love that idea. And so I'm wanting to explore how our connections can ensure that it is our community that experiences that kai first and foremost. Our kai is predominantly shared amongst our volunteers in the first instance. So our people that are part of our garden, we call them our volunteers, and so they're the ones out there growing it, you know, it's their kai, and so they distribute it amongst themselves. And so as we see more of those community partnerships being created, that's something that I'm really keen to explore. Thanks.
And as well, I have talked to people in the office about disaster preparedness for the office itself as well, and what we've got, water outside, we've got a small generator in the shed, things like that we've got that we can use in the office, and we've also got vegetables and fruit trees, which are sort of avocados at the moment. We've got tons of avocados coming up, so there's always going to be something out there for people who might need it, and we have been looking to that already a bit. So yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Kia ora,
Thanks,
ngā mihi.
Thank you very
Kia
much.
ora, thank you.
Team from CCS Disability Action,
Kia ora.
leave the
That was
space.
so cool. I really want to get a tool and get into gardening. I will now invite Frankie from Te Ao Marama for the project Kia Noho Matara. Be alert, be ready.
So Frankie's making her way up. Frankie's got very long black hair and she's wearing a very frilly white blouse that I said I wanted to describe because it looks fantastic. She's channeling Prince.
Everyone on the panel looks very attractive today. Very hot looking, just wanted to let you know that. Ko hikurangi te maunga, ko waiapu te awa, ko horauta te waka, ko hinipari te marae. Ko nai tāne te hapu, ko Ngāti Porou te iwi, he Francesca Riria Tangairia hau. Tēnā koutou katoa. I stand before you as a tangata whaikaha Māori, representing Te Toko, a branch of Tama, Te Ao Marama Aotearoa. As the lead po for Tamaki Makaurau, I am privileged to be mentored by our rangatira, Dr. Huhana Hiki, whose legacy of upholding the mana and rights of our people fuels this proposal. Our team, the Digital Infrastructure Working Group, includes the fierce advocacy of Rodney Bell, Helena Aotearoa, Taki Peke, and the acknowledgement of Bernadette Ingham, the nurturing support of Pam Hoa McGreevy, and the leadership of Watahoa. Tama is uniquely Te Ao Māori. We are pan-iwi and pan-impairment. We represent the voices of those often left in the shadows of policy, tangata whaikaha Māori. The challenge, the triple burden. For our whānau, climate change is not a distant environmental theory, it is a te tiriti o Waitangi and human rights crisis. We face a triple burden. Cultural disruption. Many of our papakainga and marae are low-lying coastal areas. When the tide rises, we don't just lose our houses, we lose our connection to our ancestors and to our role as kaitiaki. Health and housing inequity. Systemic bias means tangata whaikaha are more likely to live in damp, flood-prone rentals. Climate-driven humidity isn't just uncomfortable, it's life-threatening for those with respiratory conditions. The invisible factor. In current managed retreat or emergency planning, we are often not at the table. If a plan doesn't account for charging a ventilator or navigating a wheelchair through a flooded street, it isn't a plan, it's a barrier to survival. The solution, kia noho matara. We present kia noho matara, which means remain watchful, remain ready. This is a series of 12 short films led by us, for us. Accessibility is not an afterthought, it is the foundation. Language, it will be delivered in Te Reo Māori, New Zealand Sign Language, and English. Visuals, high contrast subtitles, and a large clear split screen for New Zealand Sign Language. Content highlights, Episode 2, The Tohu, The Sign, using Maramataka, the lunar calendar, and the story of Tāwhiri Mātia, who is blind, to teach environmental literacy. Episode 6 and 7, practical guides on registering as a medical-dependent consumer and using the 111 text service. Episode 10, Whakawhanaungatanga, establishing buddy systems so no one is forgotten when the sirens sound. Our philosophy, he moana puki puki e ikinga I te waka. The choppy sea can still be navigated by the canoe, and we are that waka. Strategic implementation. We have addressed the Council's specific requirements for sustainability and impact. We are sharing for easy access. We will move beyond static websites. We will distribute digital copies directly to marae for community hui, optimise content for mobile and social media, TikTok and Instagram, where our whānau are active, and we partner with Te Whatu Ora to play these in their GP waiting rooms. We are resourcing for outreach. Our 40,000 budget is lean but strategic. We have allocated 7,000 for project management and stakeholder relations, specifically to drive outreach. We will hold kānohi ki te kānohi face-to-face, launch at local marae to ensure immediate community buy-in. I've met with Greg Morgan at the Auckland Emergency Management, who has advised me that there may be some financial contribution to kia noho matara, as he has not seen anything like this before, and has stayed as an interested partner. We are measuring success. We won't just count views. Success looks like an uptick in tangata whaikaha registering as a medically dependent consumer. Waitaha, grab a bag. Check, surveying whānau 3 months post-viewing to see if their kits are prepared. first responder feedback, tracking the use of our new communication cards and emergency interactions. This project ensures that when we have the next climate event that hits Tamaki Makaurau, tangata whaikaha Māori are not visible victims, but we will be prepared leaders. We invite the Auckland Council and the Grant Advisory Panel to join us in launching this waka. Let us ensure that as the tide rises, no one is left behind. Naku noa, nā Francesca Riria Tangairi. Kia ora. I was scared.
Frankie takes off her glasses with a big sigh of relief.
Kia ora, Frankie. My name is Jade. I am part of the Grant Advisory Panel. Love that presentation. I love the concept that you put in front of us today. Very practical, very tangible. I just wanted to ask you a question about the proposal itself. One of the elements you've got in there is 12 episodes filming over 12 days. Do you see any risks in that sort of setup?
Yeah, kia ora, Jade. Thank you for that question. So the timeline we've suggested is 1 episode per 2 months because we want to have longevity, but we want to be very accurate in how we're delivering that and make sure that we're being pono and integrity with tikanga. And as with Sambarai and Tamaki Makaurau, there is different tikanga. So we have to be aware of that too and learn that.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, that was taking it slow. To be honest, when I first started this project, I had a lot to learn myself, Jade, about how this would happen, about my knowledge of tikanga and how far I've got to go.
Cool.
And that as well. So it's been a big journey for me to think about that, and that's our proposal, is to connect with every marae. Being Māori, we have connection to Ngāti Poa, Ngāti Whātua, Ngā Pui from the Great Barrier,
Right.
so kia ora.
Thank you. I'll hand it over to Liz.
Kia ora, oh, sorry. Kia ora, Frankie. Les speaking. Just my main one, you pretty much answered some of it. It was just about the kawa and about different attributes of when you're going into marae spaces, because they do have a different understanding and they do represent other iwi when it's in Tamaki Makaurau. So I just wanted to know what's your adaptation in regards to that, and what's the connection that you try to make towards some of these, some of the representation that you're aiming your content towards.
Yeah, kia ora. So we have Taki Piki, who's the head, he's the rangatira of our of Tama, Te Ao Marama Aotearoa. I don't believe that I've come across somebody with more mana or someone as delved into mātauranga, maramataka, reo and tikanga. So I've been blessed to have that taonga beside me within our organisation. And this is not just a one time of learning tikanga. We hold workshops all the time. We have huis within every different region because we're nationwide, we're across the whole motu. So we're a big whānau and collective that have the resources and the people to be able to get this done, and we have the capacity to do so.
I've got one more question. Just in regards to the individuals you may be using in your series, I just wanted to know, are you using whānau hoa or tangata whaikaha? And if you are, that'll just be a great asset to use because you're representing the mass that should be represented.
Kia ora, kia ora. So that's a really good question. Thank you, Leslie. So my proposal, and when I started this project management, I decided to look at every disability I could. And when I was in the room full of everybody, I thought, hey, wouldn't it be really cool if we all came under the same body of aroha and there would be an episode for everybody so everybody could participate? So for me, this wasn't an individualised emotional project. It wasn't just about tama or te toko. It was about us as a community, us as Tamaki Makaurau, and having an episode where we could put whānau hoa, tangata whakaha Māori, whaikaha, anybody, their support people, the people that have been there in their whānau, pushing them the whole way, because with this series of 12 series, this is something that will be a taonga, right? This is a legacy, the first time it's happened in history. We're all part of something really major and historic. So everybody gets to be a part of this, and that was my kaupapa when I came to the table, was to have the 12 series in order to anybody who may not have been ready yet for this funding can jump on this waka too with us, because we'd love to have you. We'd love to collaborate with anybody. And that's why we have the 40,000 budget too, because we honour our people, not just tangata whakaha Māori, but everybody. And there's a koha and a representation of that. And I want to see our people that are always behind be in the front line and shine. And so their families can see this forever, and that's their legacy. So kia ora.
Kia ora, whakawhananga.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Any other questions or comments? It was amazing.
Thank you. I was really scared. Thanks very much. Thank you.
I will now invite Carolyn, who's the project lead.
Kia ora koutou, ko Carolyn Watsaho. It's lovely to be here. It's such an exciting day. I feel for the GAP. You've got a hard job, right? Even though we've only seen 3 proposals, they were pretty epic. So thank you so much. I know it's a bit scary getting up in front of a room full of people, but already somebody from the council's tapped me on the back and said, can you introduce me to that person? So that's what this project's all about, is making connections, and we've really learnt that throughout the process. Exciting. So we have a break for lunch now. We are going to have 40 minutes. One thing I'd love is Becky, our lovely photographer, wants to take a portrait of everyone who presents today. So the 3 people who have presented, can you please connect with Becky, and she's going to take a portrait photo for you. Don't forget about having a look at our beautiful illustrations that are going up. Kelly's doing live illustrations of every pitch here on the wall, and we're going to gift those back to you as presenters at the end, as well as keep a record. So where to from here? As I said, GAP have got a pretty hard job. They're going to meet next week and make some decisions. We'd love to be able to fund everything, but we have $150,000 to spend this time round. They will make recommendations to the council, and the council will then, I'm sure, agree with those, and we will let you know by the 10th of June. So that's our timing going forward. But we're going to have a break for lunch now. We might get some volunteers to help Zoe set up.
I could have some friends to help carry food. That would be lovely. And also maybe someone to do a karakia tie for us once the food's made out.
Tamara, or would you like, can you do karakia for us? Thank you. If we could do it now, that would be great. Amen.
Tamara's obviously hungry.
If you want to leave your earpiece in, as soon as I find out what the food is, I'm going to tell you, and then I can come and give you a hand getting some.
Just over here. Oh gosh.
So I'm down the sweet end. There's a selection of fruit. We've got pineapple, orange, kiwi fruit, grapes, watermelon and rock melon. There's also bliss balls, and there's a range of slices including millionaire shortbread. Is it called Louise cake? You know, that one with the pink icing and the kind of the jammy stuff in the middle, and then there's some other kind of cake as well, which I'll have to taste for you. There's meaty rolls, there's summer rolls that may or may not have chicken in them. I've asked Zoe to go and write some labels. There's chicken on skewers. I'm going to shuffle down the hot end. There's veggie quiches with like mushroomy things on them. I'm going to grab one of those for Paul just now, because he likes those. Oh, are they? They're the. So we've got vegan, gluten-free tofu rice paper rolls. Oh, hang on. Paul doesn't like those, but I think I'll be mine. Okay, I've grabbed a couple of quiches for